What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This is Logistical Response. Now, I've been ignoring the mainstream news for a while. I don't cover them. I just lean in on the corporate press. I read news articles and go through that, blah, blah, blah. But, folks, I have a whirlwind of a video for you today. We're going to jump around a little bit, but we're going to go ahead and debunk these people because these people are lying and manipulating you, and they say these things with the utmost confidence. Check this out, y'all.
Former President Trump continues to make false claims. Let me read you a couple of them. Venezuelan gang members have overrun an apartment complex, he says, in Aurora, Colorado. Haitian migrants in Springfield, Ohio are eating cats and dogs. FEMA funds have been redirected to house migrants. Mr. Speaker, all of those claims have been debunked. If former President Trump is so confident in his policies, yes, they haven't. But if former President Trump is so confident in his policies, why not make the argument along policy lines? Why say things that have been debunked by local officials?
Okay, so Kristen Welker claims these have all been debunked. Trump is outright lying. Well, I take you to this clip
where Trump said the city had been invaded and conquered by Venezuelan gangs. The Republican mayor of the city said flatly the city and state have not been taken over or invaded or occupied by migrant gangs. So do you support Donald Trump making those claims that the Republican mayor says were grossly exaggerated and have hurt the city's identity and sense of safety? I understand what you're saying, that some people left behind, but he's making these statements that the mayor is flat out disputing.
Well, Martha, you just said the mayor said they were exaggerated.
Grossly exaggerated.
That means there's got to be some element of truth here. And of course, President Trump was actually in Aurora, Colorado, talking to people on the ground. And what we're hearing, of course, Martha, is that people are terrified by what has happened with some of these Venezuelan gangs.
Senator Vance, I'm going to stop you because I know exactly what happened. Martha, I'm going to stop you. The incidents were limited to a handful of apartment complexes, and the mayor said our dedicated police officers have acted on those concerns. A handful of problems.
Only, Martha, do you hear yourself? Only a handful of apartment complexes in America were taken over by Venezuelan gangs, and Donald Trump is the problem and not Kamala Harris's open border? Americans are so fed up with what's going on, and they have every right to be. And I really find this exchange, Martha, sort of interesting because you seem to be more focused with nitpicking everything that Donald Trump has said rather than acknowledging that apartment complexes in the United States of America are being taken over by violent gangs. I worry so much more about that problem than anything else here. We've got to get American communities in a safe space again. And unfortunately, when you let people in by the millions, most of whom are unvetted, most of whom you don't know who they really are, you're going to have problems like this. Kamala Harris, 94 executive orders that undid Donald Trump's successful border policies. We knew this stuff would happen. They bragged about opening the border, and now we have the consequences, and we're living with it. We can do so much better, but frankly, we're not going to do better, Martha, unless Donald Trump calls this stuff out. I'm glad that he did.
Okay, let's just end that with they did not invade or take over the city, as Donald Trump said.
You gotta love that. I'm gonna stop you right there because I know exactly what happened. And then she goes on to blither out some nonsense garbage. And she doesn't know what like J.D. Vance said, they're more worried about what Donald Trump is exaggerating than a damn apartment complex being taken over by a Venezuelan gang. Now, we've seen a lot of reports that say, oh no, this is not true. Fact check, false. But it's not. We covered that article a couple of weeks ago, like a month ago, maybe something like that. We covered, yes, this is happening. This is happening in Chicago as well. We've had both of those stories covered right here on this channel. So for them to come out and say that this is just not true, oh, it's been debunked. Has it been debunked? Yeah, these people are outright insane, if you ask me. They just bring in this lie. Like they want to say Donald Trump is lying. Oh, he's such a liar. Well, you know, Donald Trump speaks in a lot of hyperbole. He does exaggerate a lot. But the basis to what Donald Trump is saying is fact. It's factually true, right? Just because the mainstream news doesn't want it to be true doesn't mean it's not true. Now, let's get back to the previous clip of Mike Johnson and see exactly. Let's go through those other claims right quick.
President Trump is making all sorts of arguments constantly. He works 24 hours a day. I saw that Kamala Harris issued her medical records. Congratulations. Donald Trump's health is on display for the entire country every hour of every day. He has more stamina and mental acumen and strength than any political figure probably in the history of the country that I can remember. He goes nonstop. So what he's talking about is the things that the American people care about. This FEMA dollars going to resettle migrants, that is a fact. I mean, that is an objective fact. What he's talking about, it's not the disaster relief fund, but it's another fund that FEMA used to resettle all the illegal aliens that they let across the open border.
Mr.
Kamala
Speaker,
Harris, the border czar, was the engineer of that.
I do have to, the FEMA funds were not redirected to house migrants. That has been debunked. It's a separate fund. FEMA has said as much.
That's right.
But
That's
just
right.
to the substance, why not make the argument on the substance of the policies, Mr. Speaker?
I'm trying to do that. Let me do that. The Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, as its name implies, should be working on federal emergency management, not resettling illegal aliens that are violating federal law. They're sending them around the country. They're putting them on taxpayer benefits, and that has enraged the country. That is why Kamala Harris's numbers are dropping in the polls. And she just said in her own words, you saw the tape there, there is no difference between her and Joe Biden. The Biden policies, Bidenomics, all the things they champion are destroying the country, and everybody knows that, and that's why Donald Trump is elected. Republicans are going to win the Senate and the House.
Mr. Speaker, we should note that FEMA funds were actually redirected on Donald Trump's watch to deal with the migrant issue. Let me ask you, you mentioned the medical records.
No, ma'am. Wait a minute. No, that's hold on, wait a minute. Wait, facts are important. That is a new program that started in 2020 under Joe Biden. That funding wasn't necessary under Trump's administration because we secured the border. We didn't invite illegal aliens and dangerous people into the country. That's a Biden-Harris policy, and everybody knows it.
Mr. Speaker, it did happen under Donald Trump's watch, but let me just ask you about medical records since you raised them.
No, Kristen,
should Donald Trump release all of his medical records?
New account.
You gotta love the semantic game that the corporate press plays, that these people play. Oh, FEMA isn't giving funds from the disaster relief. Oh, no, they're not doing that. They go on to say the exact same thing from two different perspectives, right? Like, they're not agreeing on the facts here. The fact is that FEMA has allocated some funds. Like, let's go over that as a matter of fact to clarify all this for everybody, because I like to be factual on this program. So let's go ahead and get into and see exactly what FEMA is doing with this money. Check this out. This is from an article I read. In the July 2019 Emergency Supplemental Appropriations for Humanitarian Assistance and Security at the Southern Border Act, long-winded freaking name, Congress first authorized the federal government to reimburse some of those costs. The initial funding was operated through FEMA's Emergency Food and Shelter Program, which has operated since 1983 to distribute funding to local communities responding to the shelter needs of homeless residents. So this fund was set up to help homeless people, for crying out loud, people that don't have a house and they need food and they need all this garbage. So that's where the basis for this comes from. Now, the creation of reimbursement funding for border communities received bipartisan support, including by Texas Senator John Cornyn, who declared in August 2019 that it's high time the federal government repays the Texas communities that have diverted their local taxpayer funds to address this crisis. So what they're telling you is what Kristen Welker said right there is not true. This is a totally separate fund, and we're going to prove that outright here in a second with the rest of this thing. So they're lying to you. They're trying to twist the story around to manipulate you into thinking Donald Trump is lying, because Donald Trump isn't stating the facts factually all the way correctly, all the way outright. He's just saying FEMA's giving these people the money without going into great detail. Now, the point Donald Trump is getting at is the federal government is giving criminal aliens money, and FEMA has now ran out of funding to fund the rest of hurricane season. They're going to have to ask Congress for more funding. Now, Mike Johnson says that's not going to be necessary. We'll see what happens with that. But I covered that article. That is factually correct. Alejandro Mayorkas came out and said this, as a matter of fact. Why they are trying to twist the narrative and lie to you, I have no idea. They have to make so many twists and turns to call Donald Trump a liar that they make themselves look like complete buffoons in front of the American people who have a little bit of rational thought. People like me who can take all their statements and everything they've said and debunk what they're saying. You love it because they're like, all this has been debunked. Is that so? Congress has since reauthorized this funding in 4 different laws. In the American Rescue Plan, which was passed by Joe Biden, passed in March 2021, Congress appropriated $110 million to the program. This funding came as the number of unaccompanied children and families arriving at the border once again rose dramatically, placing a strain on local shelters. Congress then appropriated $150 million to the program in fiscal year 2022 DHS appropriations bill. This is just great. You love it. They don't want to go into the details because they know that what they're saying is going to be false. So they just get out there and play semantic games and say, no, Donald Trump is a liar. Well, he's not lying, is he? The federal government is absolutely funding, is subsidizing criminal aliens. I say this all the time because I read the news constantly and I read these articles outright. Let's keep going, though. In 2023, Congress shifted the program away from FEMA's direct control by pulling the funding out of the EFSP and creating the Shelter and Services Program under U.S. Customs and Border Protection, and then directing that CBP transfer the funding to FEMA to administer. So, what Donald Trump is saying is factual, y'all. So, because these people have just outright lied, they've twisted the narrative around, what I would love for you guys to do is share this video with everybody that still believes the corporate press narrative. Take this video, take the URL, share it on X, share it on Instagram, share it on Facebook. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your family, tell everybody you know that what they're saying is absolute garbage. And if you guys could, do me a big, huge favor and smash that like button for me. That's another big way to get videos like this out into the field a little bit further so we can debunk their narrative and debunk their lies where they're talking about this is all debunked. Smashing that like button helps. If you're new to this channel, do me a huge favor and smash that subscribe button for me so you can stay up to date with all the debunking of the corporate press garbage that is out there, because a lot of it is garbage. They're full of half-truths and just nonsense lies that make them sound stupid once you realize what the truth is. But do me that favor, smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share this video with anybody and everybody you can. Turn on your notifications so you can stay up to date. Let's keep going, though. CBP was also directed to work with FEMA to target the funding to places most impacted by migrant arrivals and to plan for changing trends at the border. In that bill, Congress authorized $800 million for the program. In 2024, following efforts to eliminate this funding stream, congressional negotiators settled on a deal which reduced funding to $650 million. That is insane, folks. And that's where all this gobbledygook is coming from. The corporate press is trying to say, oh, no, FEMA isn't giving them money. And then they'll say, oh, from the disaster relief fund. But FEMA is most definitely giving them this money. What the point of all this is, and Donald Trump's point, is these people care more about funding criminal aliens, about subsidizing illegal migration, about subsidizing foreign wars, more than they do about disaster relief in our own country, about helping you with your own taxpayer dollars. They care more about others than they do the American people. And Donald Trump's message is that This is corrupt. Why are they doing this? We need to stop these people from doing this. This is damaging the country, and we don't want our citizens hurt. We need to take care of ourselves, then help the rest of the world, not help the rest of the world in detriment to our own citizens. That's what needs to happen. That's what Donald Trump is saying, and they're calling him a liar for doing so. This is all nuts, y'all. Despite Congress's ongoing support for this program, local communities' needs remain significant, and as a result, so does the need to expand the Shelter and Services Program. Other efforts to expand the federal government's role include the Destination Reception Act, introduced in July 2024, which would complement the Shelter and Services Program. And once again, like I said, that program was initially started up to help homeless people in this country. And once again, it's one of those things to let's throw some money at a problem and see if we can fix it. And it just got changed over to helping out migrants, right? We talked about this yesterday, that the Biden administration touting all these freaking jobs they create constantly, that they're giving them to illegal immigrants. We outright debunked that yesterday. Go check that video out if you haven't seen it. But we clearly debunked it. But what they're doing to the American people is nuts, y'all. This program was created to help homeless people. You can't just throw money at a problem and expect it to fix. Then the Biden administration takes this program because he sees, oh, we have all these criminal aliens in the country. We can't give all 15, 20 million of them a job. So we need to subsidize their cost of living. That's what they're doing. Paying for these people's costs, daily costs, food, housing, etc. Blah, blah, blah. So he shifts this program and says, screw the homeless people. We don't need to help those people. And let's help these migrants instead. That's what the Biden administration has done. That's what they seem to be all about. And it pisses me off, to be honest with you. And I imagine you guys get aggravated about this as well. Because once again, they decide to help people who, they're not supposed to be here. They're helping these people over American citizens. How is that fair? How is that equitable? It's not. These are the people that are constantly talking about, oh, we need equity and all this other stuff. But they're actually helping criminal aliens instead of helping their own citizens. It's like, why are we doing this? But, once again, another corporate press narrative debunked. Once again, we prove that Donald Trump was not lying. He's telling the truth, although it be, kind of confusing to filter through everything Donald Trump says, because Donald Trump talks a lot. As a matter of fact, I love to call it rambling insanity, because Donald Trump does ramble a good bit. But once again, once you filter through all the garbage, you see what Donald Trump is saying, you can get to the facts, you can get to the core elements of what he's talking about, and see that what he's saying is truthful, and what he's saying makes total sense. Right? A lot of people love to say, oh, Donald Trump is clearly showing signs of cognitive decline. Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it whatsoever. And I'm not one to be outright blindly biased by this. I can look at Donald Trump and say, yes, he does get off into some rambling insanity here. I will outright admit that. Anybody that talks that much, that does that many rallies, of course they're going to ramble. They're going to talk about shark attacks and all kinds of stuff. It's like, what? What are you talking about, Trump? Get to the point. But that's what his rallies are all about. Entertaining people. That's what he's there for. But the core tenets of his message, what his policies will be about, is all there. It's all there. He says it plain as day once he does get to that point. And it's good for the country. It's making America great again, or it will make America great again. He's already done it once. We were well on our way to being the greatest nation on earth. We got slammed with a pandemic, and then we got slammed with an inept, incompetent administration that totally destroyed everything Trump did on purpose, it seems like. And now we're off in a worse position than we were before Trump came in. So it's like, all right, we got a lot of work to do, folks. So we do have a lot of work to do. We got a lot of work to do when we get to November. Once we get past November, January 20th is when the work really starts. So all I got to say, guys, y'all know who y'all should vote for. That's all I'm going to say on that. But I think I'm done with this one, y'all. I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. Like, is it just me, or are all these debunks just like getting outright ridiculous? Like, why are they twisting the truth so much? It's crazy to me to think that they could outright lie and then say they're debunking Trump. Trump's a liar. It's like, no, come on. Let's get to the facts here. Okay, Trump does embellish things, exaggerates, whatever. We can live with that. But he's not outright lying. It's just an exaggeration. You know, saying that Denver in Colorado has been totally taken over by Venezuelan gangs, Tren de Aragua. I can finally say it. Yeah, when we covered that story, I couldn't say it. I'm like, I don't know how to say that. Screw it. I'm going to just say Venezuelan gang. But I've heard somebody else pronounce it. Now I can say Tren de Aragua, which, if you see it spelled, it doesn't look like it says that. But regardless of that, I'm going to cut it off here. I'm rambling again. Some more rambling insanity, if you will. But y'all let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. That's all I got for this one. Reminder, smash that like button, subscribe, share this video if you don't mind. I sure would appreciate it. It would help me out a ton. Because like I say, they try to keep me in a box, but you guys can help me out of that box to open the door to this channel and let it explode like it should to get the people the facts. Y'all let me know what y'all think. That's all I got for this one. I want to thank everybody for watching, and y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.